The U.S.-China trade relationship, specifically this tariff war, it's still going on, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Simmering away.
And you'd think with so much on the line economically, they'd be talking constantly, trying to figure it out.
That's what you'd assume, logically.
But that's the really strange thing we're diving into today. Are they even talking? Seriously.
Exactly, because we're getting these wildly different stories, this deep dive. We're trying to cut through that noise.
We're going to unpack the conflicting reports coming out of Washington and Beijing about whether trade talks are actually underway.
We've got this CNBC piece to work with titled, "No Trump-Xi Tariff Talks Underway," China says. Pretty direct headline.
It is. So our mission here for you, the listener, is to figure out what's behind these conflicting claims and, well, what it all might mean.
Okay, so let's start with the CNBC article and China's position. What's their side of the story?
Well, according to this piece, they're being incredibly clear, repeatedly saying no tariff negotiations are happening, period.
Unequivocal, really. No wiggle room.
None. The article quotes their foreign ministry spokesman, Guo Jikun. He said, let me make it clear one more time that China and the U.S. are not engaged in any consultation or negotiation on tariffs.
Wow. One more time. That suggests they feel they've had to say this before.
It really does. You can't get much clearer than that statement.
And it wasn't just about the general talks, was it? He also addressed a specific claim.
Right. President Trump had apparently mentioned a call from President Xi.
Which Guo flatly denied. He said, as far as I know, there have not been any calls between the two presidents recently.
That's a direct contradiction. It's not just different interpretations. It's one side saying something happened and the other saying it absolutely did not.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is actually going on? Or maybe truly nothing is.
And the article points out this stance, this denial, fits perfectly with China's, very strong opposition to those huge 145% tariffs the U.S. put on.
Makes sense. They're basically saying, how can we talk seriously while these massive tariffs are still in place?
Yeah, almost like a precondition. The piece mentions the Chinese Ministry of Commerce spokesman essentially said just that.
The quote about canceling measures.
That's the one. Responding to a Trump claim about a meeting, the spokesman said, if the U.S. really wants to resolve the problem, it should cancel all the unilateral measures on China.
So China's message seems to be, remove the tariffs first, then maybe we can talk formally. A very clear line.
Okay, so that's China. No talks. No recent presidential calls. Tariffs must go. Crystal clear.
Right. But then you pivot to the U.S. perspective.
Yeah, it's like night and day, isn't it? What's the story coming from the Trump administration?
Well, they're consistently pushing the idea that talks are happening or, about to happen.
The article mentions Trump's interview in Time magazine,
where he mentioned that supposed call from Xi Jinping.
The very call China says never happened.
Exactly. And beyond that specific call, Trump also made this broader statement
about finishing new trade deals soon.
Yeah, saying his administration would wrap up deals with lots of countries in as little as 3 or 4 weeks. It paints a picture of intense trade activity.
Definitely suggests momentum that things are moving on the trade front generally.
And then you have others in the administration backing this up regarding China specifically, like the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins.
What did she say?
She was on CNN, quoted saying, every day we were in conversation with China.
Every day.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
According to our team in Washington, the conversations are ongoing regarding multiples of trade, multiples of the trade goods that are coming out and going in.
That's quite a statement, especially when the other side is saying no talks at all.
It really is a stark disconnect. And when Rollins was presumably pressed on China's denials, her response was basically, well, our team says otherwise.
Very assertive. And then she added that kicker.
The line about leverage?
Yeah. The bottom line with China is this. They need us more than we need them.
Which tells you a lot about the U.S. public negotiating stance, right? Projecting strength, suggesting China has to come to the table eventually.
Okay, so we have Trump's claims, Rollins' insistence on daily conversations. What about the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent?
Bessent adds another layer here. He seems to echo that confidence, insisting the U.S. is better positioned to, win a trade war, if you want to call it that.
And he had a theory about why China might be denying talks, didn't he?
He did. He suggested they might be playing to a different audience.
Meaning?
The implication, I think, is that China might be denying talks publicly for domestic political reasons, maybe to look strong at home.
Ah, so perhaps Besant believes some communication is happening, just not what China wants to admit publicly.
That seems to be the suggestion. He also said he believes these Chinese tariffs are unsustainable.
Implying China will eventually have to fold or compromise.
Seems like it. And quite optimistically, he predicted just last week, mind you, a de-escalation in the very near future.
Interesting prediction, given China's very public stance. What did he mean by de-escalation, do you think?
It's unclear from the quote. Could be wishful thinking, could be based on something happening behind the scenes, or maybe just a different definition of talks.
He also tackled the issue of, potential impact on consumers, empty shelves, that sort of thing.
Right. His response was interesting. He said, basically, not a problem right now, not at present. We have some great retailers. I assume they pre-ordered.
So rely on retailers having stocked up.
Seems to be part of it. He added, I think we'll see some elasticities, and I think we'll see replacements, and then we will see how quickly the Chinese want to de-escalate.
So again, putting the ball firmly in China's court, it's up to them to de-escalate.
Pretty much. Speaking on CNBC, he explicitly said he wouldn't negotiate through the press, but the message was clear. The onus is on China.
And then there's Trump himself. Again, the article notes he kept saying meetings were happening.
Yeah, like claiming, we've been meeting with China.us and Chinese officials had a meeting this morning.
But crucially,
He didn't say who was involved.
Yeah.
Kept it vague.
and just the day before that, he'd said officials were actively talking. It's this constant message from the U.S. Talks are on.
It's just fundamentally opposed to the message from Beijing, which leads us to think about the fallout.
Absolutely. Because this isn't just diplomatic theater, right? The CNBC piece mentions warnings from American businesses, from analysts.
Real-world consequences.
Yeah, concerns about higher prices for things you buy every day, potential shortages of products, maybe even stores closing.
That hits home. And this lack of clarity, this are they or aren't they talking situation, it just pours fuel on that fire of uncertainty for businesses.
How can they plan inventory or pricing or investments when the signals are so contradictory?
Exactly. Predictability is key, and right now it seems absent. Which brings up the big question. Why? Why these totally different stories?
What could be the reason for this mismatch?
Well, one possibility is semantics, I suppose. Maybe conversations are happening at a lower level, but China doesn't consider those formal negotiations on tariffs.
That's plausible. A difference in definition. Or maybe it's more strategic.
Okay, domestic politics.
Could be. For both sides, maybe looking tough on trade plays well at home.
Right. China doesn't want to look like it's caving under U.S. pressure with tariffs still on.
And for the U.S., claiming talks are happening, deals are imminent. Maybe that projects an image of control and success, regardless of the reality of high-level talks.
It's a complex dance, isn't it? International diplomacy mixed with internal political needs.
Definitely. So let's just recap where we are.
Okay, China. Adamant denial. No talks, no calls, cancel the tariffs first.
U.S. insistent claim. Talks happening daily, meetings occurred, de-escalation expected soon, China needs us more.
A complete clash in narratives.
And the stakes are high. As the article and analysts warn, this uncertainty could mean real economic pain, rising costs, supply issues hitting businesses, and ultimately hitting you.
Which leaves us with a pretty important thought to consider, doesn't it?
Yeah. Given these totally conflicting accounts, this lack of clear communication between the world's two biggest economies, what does that signal?
What does this confusion tell us about where the U.S.-China trade relationship is actually heading?
And maybe more importantly for you listening, how could that ongoing uncertainty, whoever's story is closer to the truth, end up impacting your wallet and your daily life down the road?